So on the water pooling stuff, what about it, Ivan? You had some comments you wanted to add about that?
Yeah, I think Sean, you might have been the one who raised it. You know, installer said, "What about the water pooling?" Look, water pooling is never good, right? When you got two metals in contact with each other, water pooling is never good. But it just keeps coming back to, are the two metals galvanically dissimilar? Because you could have two similar metals with water and still okay, but if it's two galvanically dissimilar metals and then you add water into the equation, that's when you have galvanic corrosion. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, if there's water and if there's water and the two metals are galvanically dissimilar, then yes, then you will have galvanic corrosion.
Okay, so to ask another way, if I'm on a Cliplock 700 roof and I'm using an I-34 universal Clenergy clamp with no rubber and there's water pooling, am I going to have an issue?
If it's a Lysart Cliplock 700 with the I-34, then you will not have any issues.
Okay.
Because the two metals are not galvanically dissimilar.
And that's where we come back to the table, right? Where it's got to be less than 0.6 or whatever it was. Okay.
So when Lysart created that table of compatibility, they had to take into consideration water, rain, and all that sort of things. Because it's not just solar. It's, you know, again, it's flashing, it's the gutters, all that kind of things.
Does coastal environments have an enhanced effect, or
good question?
Carbonically?
Yeah, that is actually a really good question. So again, we can go back to what the roofing manufacturers say. So for example, off the top of my head, I can't really remember, but I think you need to install color-borne stainless steel if it's Lysart on those coastal areas, those high wind coastal areas, so C4, C5. And if you use those roofing sheets there, I think you can't use the I-34.
Yeah.
Not without some sort of separation, I guess.
Yeah. So it comes down to what the base material is on the roof. So if they've installed a zinc aluminum or Colorborn standard, Colorborn Ultra, then you're okay because they're still considered not galvanically dissimilar. But if they use one of those roofing sheets that are on the list that says no aluminium, and there's a couple of them, that's when you can't use the I-34.
And with coastal environments as well, do you take into consideration high salt spray? Or does that sort of all take that into account?
So that just, I mean, yeah, it does accelerate the process, but if they're not galvanically dissimilar, you're really not accelerating much.
Okay, because you always get questions from customers, not so much installers anymore, more customers where, I live 50 meters from the beach.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of customers, they mainly ask about, you know, the solar module on the roof and the inverter. Obviously try to get the inverter inside. And then oddly enough, you do get customers asking about the racking.
Yeah.
So do you guys have a general minimum distance from, you know, high salt spray?
Wasn't there a table? Wasn't there a table about this from Lysart or from BlueScope or one of those manufacturers, Ivan? I thought I remembered seeing something about the actual environment itself. Maybe I'm just imagining it.
I guess if we know what we're talking about, we can pop it up here. But just to sort of answer your question, Jack.
Yeah.
When we look at corrosion, there's three main types of corrosion. There's galvanic corrosion, which is what we've been talking about when we've got two galvanically dissimilar metals in contact. We've got atmospheric corrosion. That's when you're, you know, near to the coastal and you've got, you know, high salt spray, or you could even be in a high industrial area where you've got the air is contaminated with, you know, small electrical ions or something like that, you know, metal ions in the air. That falls under atmospheric corrosion. And then you've got a third, which is, I think it's called stress crack corrosion. It's when metals go through high stress and they actually break and then they corrode from inside. That's the third, which I don't think we really see. We're really concerned with the first two. With atmospheric corrosion, what we have done, is that we've got products that are anodized that can handle up to C4, C5. There's some items that need to be changed. For example, the screws. You need to use C4, C5 screws in those environments. But in terms of our core product, including the cutter reel and all that stuff, it is applicable in that environment.
Cool.
In that C4, C5.
Learning something every day.
Yeah, there you go.
Where have you been all our life?
Well, I usually just give the customer Ivan's mobile number. So I'll just ask them directly.
You want to give that now on the live?
Nah, don't be flashing our numbers.
Or his home address or something. Now people can visit. Yeah, they can line up from the porch.